You know what's exciting for me about Ohtani is that Friday versus Kansas City had 22 swings and misses. That's the fourth most in a game by any pitcher this season. Through 5 starts, Shohei Ohtani, one was shortened by a rain delay. Let's make that super clear. But through his 5 starts, opponents are hitting batting averages 0.029. His opponent's line right now, anybody he faces over 105 plate appearances, is at 029, 248, and 115. Again, that's across 105 plate appearances. That's insane.
It is insane.
So their batting average across those 5 starts, just for his opponents, is the lowest it's been on record since 1893.
Wow.
Yeah.
When
Nobody has
Tungsten
ever
Arm
pitched that well.
O'Houlihan was pitching, right?
Yeah, right. Skiffy McGee.
Yeah, exactly.
Over 28 innings pitches, Shohei Ohtani has currently has an ERA of 0.64, 0.64. His whip is 0.82. He has 38 strikeouts and a grand total 1.7 WAR as it stands right now. And we're almost done with April. It's absolutely insane.
It's so crazy to think about how he keeps getting better and better. And one thing, as we were talking about this before we started, we were looking at kind of his pitch arsenal, because he was one of the guys I don't want to say the guy, but he was one of the guys who helped mainstream the sweeper, which we've seen a lot of. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, what it is exactly. But like he's narrowing down his arsenal more. He's not using a sweeper as much because it's not as effective. His splitter not really that effective right now, because for whatever reason guys are hitting a almost 100-mile-an-hour splitter from him. I don't know how that works, but anyway. But his fastball has been really good. His slider has been really good, and his curveball. Like, he's really narrowing down his arsenal and becoming a lot more efficient pitcher, which is crazy to think, because last year it's like the dude was just otherworldly, and he continues to get better. Yeah. I don't know.
He has not allowed more than 3 hits across 9 consecutive starts if you go back to 22. 3 hits in 9 consecutive starts. That's amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things where you just like you go down your schedule, like, okay, playing the Angels, is Ohtani scheduled to play that day or pitch that day? Yeah. L.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
We're just gonna lose.
Or unless you're just like, okay, just be patient, let him pitch to you, even though he's going to pound the strike zone if you're not swinging, and then try to get him out of there by like the 5th inning, and then you go after the bullpen, right? Like, that's got to be the plan, because this weekend when the Mariners played the Cardinals, they said that their strategy against Luis Castillo was death by singles. It's like, you're not going to get enough singles to like chalk up a bunch of runs against that dude. They end up getting 3, but they still end up losing the game. But yeah,
right.
I don't know. I guess you do what you can. So.
Well, Shohei Ohtani does not know how to lose baseball games, and he is doing a very good job trying to carry that whole team by his dang self.
Yeah, he is. Exactly right. Rough. So I want to talk a little bit about the sweeper, because we've seen a lot more of it this year. Usage is way, way up across the league. But it's not necessarily a new pitch. Ohtani brought it, and they were calling it, at the time, they're calling it a gyro ball. Corey Kluber, though, won 2 Cy Young Awards with it. And the difference between a sweeper and a slider and a curveball is that a curveball has a lot of vertical movement. It's going to go down. In fact, when I was learning how to throw a curveball when I was like 12, the guy who was teaching us how to do it, he's like, it should bounce. He's like, a curveball should bounce. And so I was like, I couldn't get the rotation. I couldn't get enough meat behind the rotation. And so I was throwing gravity balls, and they kept bouncing. He's like, oh yeah, that's a great curveball. I was like, there's no break. That is gravity, friend.
That's different.
Yeah, very different. But so curveball a lot of times is going to go down, and then it'll have a little bit of off arm movement. So if you're right-hander, it's going to break a little bit to the left, but mostly it's going to go up and down. You got a slider, which is going to have a lot of horizontal movement, but it's also going to drop. You see a lot of sliders, they'll have that late drop at the end, really hard to hit.
Yeah.
The difference, though, is a sweeper doesn't have nearly as much vertical movement. It's not going to drop quite as much. It's going to maintain a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more height, kind of like a fastball will. Mm-hmm. But man, those things freaking go side to side like crazy. They look like a frisbee, a lot of them.
Yeah, they do look like a frisbee.
So there's your little bit of pitching breakdown for the day. For those of you who don't know what a sweeper is, now you can
There you
identify.
go.
You can tell your friends that's called a sweeper.
Yep.
When you see it.
Bingo, bango.